What's good, Smite fans? Tom and Ryan Bailey here.
That's me, Ryan Bailey.
I'm the only Tom Battinger here, and we're ready to bring you the only Smite Pro League. North American style this time around. eUnited, the defending world champions, will take on the up-and-comers Splyce. And then later on, we'll see Barracuda and the boys take on Trifecta, another up-and-coming team as well.
They're really good games overall today, and some do-or-dies for Splyce and Trifecta. Trifecta not totally eliminated yet, but if they want to keep their hopes afloat for land, they have to beat SSG today.
Hope floats, like the movie.
Don't start with me.
North America right now ruled by Barracuda and the hometown heroes. The defending world champs do find themselves in number 2. And then there is Trifecta and Splyce, like Agro was talking about. CLG and Luminosity unlikely to make it to land, but Trifecta and Splyce still absolutely in the running if the Titans up top fall down.
And that's it's going to be a tough task for sure. It's been a tough week for some of these teams. eUnited hasn't looked as good as they would like overall over the last 2 weeks or so, but you expect that they'll be able to bounce back here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, looking at these squads here and there, I think I've seen a lot of positives come out of basically everybody.
Yeah.
The top 4 or 5, I mean, even Luminosity had their moments. It was really exciting. North America, a little bit more cut and dry when it comes down to who's going to land, though.
Feels like it, but again, not quite done with yet. The top 4 is still competing. And think about if Splyce had been able to finish off Luminosity and we're sitting one game better in the standings, it would be a really, really close 3-team race right now. They've got now a pretty difficult mountain to climb, but still certainly possible for the Splyce boys.
I mean, right now, everybody's feeling the heat. Commentators, viewers, even the players are certainly feeling it. We got a chance to catch up with one of those players right now, so let's take a look at that conversation. Hey, Kabam, F. here. First of all, Splyce, you guys have looked really good, so just congratulations overall. And actually, let's touch on that. Forget, you got a game coming up, but big picture, zoom out, Splyce looking better. Talk to me.
Yeah, so obviously our spring split wasn't good. So coming into summer, we all sort of had to come up with a plan on what we could do to improve the team dynamic and sort of get things on track to where we expect it to be. So that's when I came up with the idea that everyone should live together. And, in a crazy sort of like 3-week period of time, we got everything figured out. We got everyone here. And since then, having people able to talk to each other and sort of read each other's body language, and people can't just leave when there's an argument, that kind of thing. Things get resolved, and that was a big part of what we needed to take care of.
Do you think that's something that is going to continue to be fruitful even after you guys sort of leave each other and wind up back at home?
I hope so, and I believe it will, because they've gotten to know each other a lot better. So even if they can't necessarily see each other, you understand people's habits and what they're thinking and what they're doing a lot better from just the experience itself. So I'm hoping it'll carry over when they go home, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. You guys are playing against eUnited towards the end of this week. That's a tough one. World champions, etc. But they do they always look a little bit more human online. Is this a team that you realistically think you can beat?
eUnited's a really tricky team because they're really smart. So when they look at your past games, they kind of pick up on your habits and what you do, and they'll punish you if you do the same thing that you've been doing in previous games. So it's really important when you're looking back at their gameplay, you also look back at what you were doing and sort of figure out what they're going to try and pick apart, right?
Yeah, it should be really interesting to watch. I'm very excited because, like I said, my personal 2 cents, I think you have gotten to the point where you can beat eUnited online. I think it would be really interesting. Any specific strategies or something that, we should look out for? Don't give me your whole playbook in case PBM's watching, but, give me something.
We have some things that we've been, working on in Scrim, some picks that, we haven't been playing as much in SPL, so we're hoping to pull something out. And surprise everyone. So we'll see how that works out if the draft goes the way we want it to.
Awesome. Really excited here, man. Again, congratulations on your recent success, and I wish you luck in the game.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was a cool little sit down with Kabam in his very bright and simultaneously very dark room.
Yeah, I think it's a nice metaphor for Splyce in general. Just sometimes they're on and sometimes they're off. So the light and the darkness coming together like a bad Kingdom's Hearts game. Great job coming out from Splyce so far. United, like I said in the interview, kind of a tough one.
It definitely is, and I think Kabam's right on the money there where he says that this team will dissect what you do very, very quickly, and that's where eUnited's strength really comes from, is that they do have their picks that they'll go to and that they understand how to utilize very well. But eUnited always seems to have one or two in the pocket that you're not really ready for. It's the Apwash solo, it's the Chang'e solo, but it's not just in the solo lane, it's Venenu pulling out the Morrigan for the first time in forever. Even though he's played it before, you're not necessarily ready for him to pull it out again.
Same thing with the Chiron, I mean, coming out of nowhere, and then, oh yeah, this exists, right? And then the beautiful thing is that at the same time, when you look at, you've criticized teams like Mouse for only having those sort of out-of-bounds compositions and out-of-bounds strategies, but the beautiful thing about eUnited is that they will bring you the Apwash solo, but they will also just go, yeah, we'll play Artemis and just be better at Smite game than you.
Yes.
And that's a really big part of what eUnited does.
And that's why they've been so successful, because there is a time and a place for those strange picks that are a little bit off-kilter, but there's always a really good reason for it, and they're able to execute with it. And it's clearly practice. This team definitely gets the most out of their practice when they can, and that really shows in the gameplay.
Yeah, that's the real key there, is that they just kind of focus on being the best team possible, and I really enjoy that. Splyce across the way have had their missteps and their successes, though. Watching this team sort of, this was always a bounce-back team for me. TheBest coming off of a hiatus, Divios coming off of a hiatus, CycloneSpin with a position change. I mean, it is unfair to expect this team to be #1 overall, and it is kind of really ridiculous to see them number 3, number 4 here in the summer split this soon.
They've done a really great job, and I really do think that living together was the big difference for them. It just feels like they're so much more comfortable with one another, and the way that they're playing the game, it just feels more cohesive to me. And the one thing that they do have to worry about, and I think that's why I was so interested in what Kabam was saying, is because they are a predictable team in picks and bans. That hasn't hurt them yet. I think that it takes some SPL teams a little bit of time to really understand not just what you're picking, that's the easy part, but what you're going to pick, where, why you're going to pick that, how that fits around your play style, and how teams can exploit that is a whole different story. And I think that eUnited is the type of team that will exploit that. So I hope that Splyce is ready with something other than the Kumbhakarna, Discordia, Hercules, Erlong Shen compositions they've been running all split long.
Yeah, I mean, with that said, I think very few people can beat Divios' Hercules.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'm just not letting Benji prep for 3 weeks against that. You know what I mean? Like, that just won't work out for you.
P's and B's, pretty please. Game number 1, eUnited versus Splyce on the way. eUnited will get the first pick, and with everything as it is right now, we've seen a lot of attention paid to Mercury. We've seen a lot of attention paid to the healers. I think are almost old hat at this point. We've kind of moved past that, and are seeing the Mercuries being banned out, and now you've got to worry about Chernobog as well, which a lot of teams have prioritized. I don't think we've heard your take on air yet. What's your beat on Chernobog in general?
Really good. Absolutely first pickable. It just dominant during the early to mid game where he can affect the map so easily. Does get hurt in the late game by not having a true ultimate, but the ability to just get low and not just lifesteal off some camps and then not, try and get back into the fight 3/4 HP, but to back to base, buy an extra power potion, whatever it is, finish off a late game item, and then fly right back into the fight onto a priority target. It's just insane. I think Chernobog is one of the best ADCs in the game. The only one I think who might be better is Artemis.
The old Athena ultimate, right? I'm going to come back. I get 2 lives. Yeah. Artemis, the first selection overall, as we said, can totally lean on the traditional. We're going to see that out of PandaCat. Maybe Venenu, but most likely going to be PandaCat.
If that's Venenu, so I'll I don't know, break a bear. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Okay, we got to stop this real quick. I need to just pause the broadcast. Listen,
don't pause it.
The bear had some issues, and we're gonna fix him. It's okay. Stop. I'm not. Listen, we're gonna be okay.
Okay.
So bear will make.
It was just a figure of speech. Everyone says that all the time.
No, they don't.
I don't know why you're freaking out.
That's not true whatsoever. That is not a thing.
I say that all the time, Tom.
Must be a Yinzer thing. Thoth and Hercules selected for Splyce, so no true surprise there. Janus and Chang'e for eUnited. No real surprises. I want to point out, but before I was rudely interrupted, the eUnited ban of Naja. This is very important. Cyno has been one of the players that has been a little bit more inconsistent watching this squad, and giving him Naja. Naja is one of the nice things about Splyce is that they all have a character that they can just go, you can pick my direct counter and I will still win.
Sure. You
can pick Odin against Divios' Hercules and he'll still win, it feels like. Naja is that for Cyno, and eUnited, they ban out the Terra just because you feel like you have to ban out the Terra, and then they ban out the Cyno choice. I think that was a very, very intelligent, and they did a lot of homework to reach that. They didn't just look at percentages. They did a lot of work to get there.
No, I agree with you, and this opens the door for them to continue to ban Cyno out a little bit more now and during the second ban phase with the Achilles right away. But Splyce is also going for a couple junglers that Scream likes to play usually, but no fourth, I should say, I guess in the second ban phase, jungler ban. Instead, it would be the Gibalanke taken away from CycloneSpin, which I think is a good idea.
Yep.
It's just one of those power picks. I think that the top 3 ADCs are very clearly, to me, Chernobog, Artemis, and Gibalanke. Ram, Neith, Hachiman, Huyi, they're all good. But
Neith in there too?
Yeah, Neith's good. Like, she's good, but not as good as the other 3. I think all 4 of those are kind of lumped together as the next tier in the Hunter category.
That's fair. I always see Neith kind of as an aside. She does very different things than I think a lot of the traditional Hunters that we see. Ram certainly one step beneath, but still a high-level character. Awilix and Khepri. A lot of pressure. This is a lot of pressure coming out from the Awilix, specifically in the early game. The Khepri is an interesting choice. We see him from time to time. Ryan, I want to dive deep into your brain here. Where is the Khepri coming from, and why do we see him?
Because this is a composition for eUnited that has the potential to just push forward and be very aggressive, and Khepri can assist with some of that. Other times, Artemis needs heavy peel. Chang'e needs heavy peel. That Rising Dawn damage mitigation is just absolutely insane at peeling off the back line. It also can actually deal with those Robin dives where he is unpeelable, just damage mitigation, and the Khepri ultimate can save you a lot of the time. Also, there's not a lot of guaranteed hard CC on Splyce outside of ultimates or put movement abilities that'll kind of put you out of position. I'm looking at evade and punish mostly there. Khepri really struggles against the Fear No Evils, you know, the big AoE, CC Khepri, and kill the carry at the same time. There really isn't that much of that here on Splyce outside of that Sylvanus ult.
So, excuse my ignorance real quick. This is the patch where Khepri actually has had some love.
Yes.
So he will get the additional protections on the abduct.
I believe so. Or maybe that is next week. This might still be 5.10.
We're gonna find that out.
All the patches, I'm like cross-eyed trying to keep them all straight. But either way, I don't think that really is that impactful in the grand scheme of why Khepri is good.
He's chosen.
The specifically the abduct changes, the passive upgrade, you know, getting that in a wider area, that is pretty important, I think. But I think Khepri here is more just if you're going to try and focus out Chang'e, drop one here. You know, if you're going to try and focus out Awilix, drop an ultimate there. You're going to be in a good spot to try and keep them safe.
We've got a game for you guys. Commentators are on the ready. eUnited, Splyce, getting ready. Let's bring this one home for the Bear.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Bear Murderer, as we move into Game 1. So excited for it. The Awilix getting picked up without very many jumps, without very many knockups. It feels like just for the Awilix.
Well, she can be very useful. The mobility is there with Suku, obviously. Big game, though, obviously. If Splyce win this one, they still are in contention for maybe making the LAN. eUnited looking to solidify themselves with a win here, too.
They definitely want to try and create some more space. It's getting a little bit crowded here in North America, just
Around
like Europe
teams,
across the
I'd
pond.
say.
Yeah, where some teams have some opportunities, and this is a chance for eUnited to create some space. Do you think eUnited are going to be able to do that, or can Splyce close the gap? You all can vote for us now in Mixer Chat and let us know what you think.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely excited to see how this one plays out, because these are two teams that, well, one, former world champions, or current world champions, I should say, even though they lost LAN in spring. But at the same time, you've got Splyce, this up-and-coming team that has a superstar lineup that you want to be successful, you don't expect to be successful, because that's what happens with superstar lineups.
That's such a great way to say it, because you really do kind of want to root for the Splyce roster, don't you? Just so many really strong players that are all together. I mean, Cyclone was once considered the best player in the world. Aror always gets so much credit for how well he plays. You really do root for this squad, right?
It's also because they're all entertainers, too, in their own right. And as players, you're always looking for the people that stand out to you and make an entertaining factor. I like this trade at the start. I'm going to be interested to see if the dual lanes both stay for the wave or whether somebody goes into the jungle. There we go. Called it.
Yeah, PolarBearMike and PandaCat just going to come back over to the jungle. They seem to think they're going to get pressure here because PolarBearMike's gone with the meditation, but they got to hurry up. Perf buff is going to be secured. Not going to be able to strip it away, our Aror and CycloneSpin.
So in the end, it kind of evens out because the next wave coming up means that eUnited will have a bit of pressure there. Although Splyce going deep in the jungle for the red instead. I like this call, especially because mid lane at the moment is under pressure. And that's why Best is being aggressive there. It's not something you usually see, but he's doing it on purpose. He may take some poke for it, but it's making sure that Splyce can get the red uncontested.
And trying to keep Venenu away from going over and defending it. Well played there by Splyce. Scream is coming in. to try and contest here in the mid lane, and is Cyno playing this Hercules, and it's going to be Ravana over in the solo lane, by the way. That's a bit of a shakeup. Certainly we're expecting it to be Divios on this Herc, but they swapped things up a little bit. Cyno going to have the Hercules jungle.
I think that's one of the reasons they swapped this up is because Raven versus the Chang'e. Raven's definitely more of an in-your-face character looking to beat you down. Chang'e, one of the mages that is very aggressive and wants to stand up in the wave, but this fight in the mid lane is getting interesting now.
Scream did get the knock-up on the Cyno, right there with the Unstable Vortex to get some good damage. Cyno's low, but remember, he's the Herc, has mitigate wounds, has some ways to heal back up even after all this poke.
Both these teams up for wanting them to get themselves to the summer finals. Big, important time for both of them. It'll be disappointing for eUnited and all their fans that they win the World Championship and fail to make the Summerland, so you expect them to play up here, and Splyce, well, they're looking to try and show that spring was them warming up and getting themselves ready for the rest of the year.
It really is two different kinds of pressure, isn't it? eUnited are expected to just be the best after winning the World Championship, and Splyce, can they really live up to these individual talents? It's like two different levels of pressure they both have to try and contend with. And you heard them talking about in the interview, they certainly recognize that eUnited are the kind of team that can read you, that can understand your tendencies. So if you pick a Hercules and they think, okay, Divios is playing this solo, and then you throw it in the jungle, maybe you can kind of throw them off a bit.
You can a little bit, and I think it's mainly just because Raven versus Chang'e is one of those matches where they're both in melee range the whole time. Raven has some sustained 2 in that lane. It's easier to get the poke damage off than that of a Hercules with, the Earthbreaker driving strike. Takes a little bit of a warm-up to really hit those, and Benji can easily juke those out with the immunity frames available in the kit.
Gives a better chance to try and slow this Chang'e down as Scream is making the rotation. This could be a
trap.
problem for Aurora. Right into the trap. Scream comes over the wall, knock up perfect, and able to find first blood for the jungle Awilix.
Clinical. That's what that was. It was just nicely timed as a very good CC chain. Abduct. No, obviously, beads available for Aurora as he's playing support here. Straight into a trap for more CC. And then, at the end of the day, you see the rotation of Scream and he goes, thanks very much. I'll take first blood.
Yeah, there was really never a moment where Aurora could do much of anything. You can see the sprint didn't even come out, because he never really had a chance to move.
Yep.
Moving faster would not really have solved that problem.
Speaking of moving faster, I love the reason that we're going to see Scream look to go aggressive in the early game now. Against a Hercules, Hercules really takes a couple of levels to get going in the jungle and look for some gank pressure. He does have that blink available, but trying to make sure you get off to a good start as the Awilix, as the assassin, is going to put you in good stead before Cyno can really come online to cause some problems.
Best gets good poke onto Venenu here in the mid lane, who doesn't have beads just yet. Another 20 seconds before those will be back.
With the hit.
Cyno really trying to capitalize on it. That was his small window, and I think Vin recognized it too, just missing it, and now Venenu will be safer.
That Venenu chuckle there, it wasn't a chuckle of like, haha, you missed it. It was more like, haha, I survived. How dare you? It was more of like, I see what you did there. I see like I was a bit too far up, but 2 seconds time, he'll be fine again as those beads are back available.
I like those. I mean, that's a pull that Cyno, it really helps a lot if he can hit that. I mean, they very much can punish Venenu. I believe he didn't even have the ultimate just yet. It was level 4, so there's a really good chance that they can get that kill. And so Venenu now kind of in this pressure moment, laughing, pointing out that you made a mistake putting it under a magnifying glass. I kind of like that gamesmanship.
Hercules as well, with the Earthbreaker, is kind of similar in a weird way to sort of a Sylvanus pull. Once you're on form and you're actually connecting with those, you feel good, You get your first couple connected and you're like, yeah, I'm a god at this. But then you miss 1 or 2 and you're like, oh no, I'm going to suck and everyone's going to see it on stream. This is terrible.
Smite really is a rhythm game, doesn't it feel that way? It really is. Not like Guitar Hero. I mean, like it's when you have that extra half second where you don't hesitate, where you just move almost instinctually, it really can step your game up. And if you're hesitating a little bit, you can miss.
And that's why the SPL level, I mean, the scrims, the practice that these teams put in is to make sure it's just muscle memory to a certain extent, where they won't make those small, little tiny mistakes of, using the Earthbreaker too early, too late, holding the ability because you don't trust yourself or your teammates, You've got to scrim, you've got to practice to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, Best could potentially be in trouble, avoids getting hit by Suku, and they want to fall right back, and does not get knocked up. Best did have beads had he needed them, but much better to have been able to hold on to.
So most of the time with United's composition here, it's all about mobility in the early stages. Using Janus, using the Awilix, rotating around the map, causing some problems wherever required. When it gets to team fight time, though, they've got a relatively interesting composition together. My only concern with eUnited's composition is what are they going to do in terms of engage? It's really much going to be Awilix jumping in, I feel like, to get in range to set things up, and then have PolarBearMike to force the reset and save him if he gets picked off.
Right, like the ranged root's kind of the best like range CC they have, unless Benji can get a really good waxing moon, so they might have some problems there with that, but it'll just depend on the situation they're in. But they really feel like they've doubled down on sustain with the way that their relics are, and with the Chang'e, with the double meditation to the Chang'e. So anti-heal could really shut that down and cause the sustain to be a problem and the initiation.
Well, Splyce, on the other hand, they've gone for a more tanky composition. They're relying on the Rama and the Thoth for the majority of their damage this game. But that 3 tanks that they've got, some sustain in that individually as well for the team with the Wisps. But the amount of tankiness that they're going to have for themselves in these engagements, it worries me a little bit that eUnited are going to be relying just on the Khepri ultimate to revive someone. Then what? You're going to have to make sure you take some targets down.
Scream coming to put some pressure on the Divios, who immediately Mystic rushes, but he does get knocked up. He does get pulled back by the ultimate Scream. Incredibly comfortable on this Awilix pick, and has already gotten 2 kills.
Yeah, eUnited just play that beautifully as well. They come to the lane, Divios ults away, going, no, you're not going to gank me today. Full combination. Waxing Moon into the knockup. There was no escape for him in that moment of time, and that's just a great play from United. That's why they're former world champs.
Even the little small play of Scream, after he gets the knock-up, just taking a step or 2 back, and then using the ultimate just to pull Divios back as far as possible. I mean, Scream clearly has put in the work on this Awilix. Just through space and time comes out. PolarBearMike's here, but he does get pulled in.
And then knocks towards the best, and now he's going to pull the best and get best speeds. Boulder comes out, Mike gets knocked up, and the ultimate from the Judgment did well, but the best will fall as Mike revives himself.
He had to drop that Scarab's Blessing on himself, but it works out perfectly. They get the kill on best. Scream has to use beads, but this fight's in favor of eUnited, a 4v3, and they're going to keep pushing on with that Janus threshold, but the blink over the wall sets up the 2-man stun. Divios takes down PolarBearMike.
Cyno's blink there was beautiful into that driving strike, making it a 1-for-1. I felt like it was a little bit risky overall from what Splyce were looking to do there. They were in enemy territory looking at the blue buff, granted. Space and time comes out and you're like, all right, reset, we win. We get a free ultimate out of them, okay? They don't know. Immediately, you're always like, all right, I'm going to pull in Mike and we're going to have a good time. But it caused a couple of problems. Overall, when you see Mike dies there, okay, fine. But look who died on the other team. It's someone more important. Divios ended up sorry, was it Divios? No, TheBest fell. And so a mid laner for a support means that eUnited win that trade overall.
They absolutely, it really feels like they came out on top, and they almost didn't even get the kill they got. Cyno just kind of was able to blink over the wall and get a great individual play at the end when they were clumped up in that jungle corridor. But you're right, it's rare that you see a through space and time cut through the fight and think you should keep fighting into it.
Should we stay here?
Yeah, clearly undeterred at this point in the game.
Well, I guess they felt they had pressure, the right momentum, but now it means that eUnited's got a marginal lead in this game right now, and the worst thing is that marginal lead is all on the same character. It's all on this Awilix jungle. And when you look at the composition that eUnited have put together, you don't want to be focused on the Awilix when there's a Chang'e and an Artemis and a Janus roaming the map at the same time. This is making it difficult for Splyce now in the team fights.
That's right.
Because now you're like, all right, we're going to kill Awilix, but oh no, Khepri's going to revive it, and meanwhile Artemis is still critting you in the face.
It does make it a lot harder to sort of decide where to put pressure if you're Cyno on the map, and so far he has not really been dictating that at all. It's been all Scream, and Splyce have been responsive, but now you have this extra worry on top of trying to slow down this Chang'e. Well, where's Scream on the map? You know, who's he harassing right now? As Divios gets actually some good poke in, forces Scream up onto the Suku, who's going to look for the jump over the wall, but Mystic Rush to follow. Scream is low. Anquile gave him a moment, and he does find the kill. Individual play.
Okay, that was interesting, because if you watch that back, Benji has his ultimate the entire time with that waxing moon, but never uses it, Finch. That tells me that Scream was saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I should be able to get away, and Benji's trusting. At the same time, I'm not sure if Benji had his meditation up as well, so it's a bit of a weird one that where they didn't just use something to make sure they kept the jungle alive. There is bonus gold from shutting down those 3 kills on the Awilix too, and it goes to Divios, which is Benji's lane opponent.
That very much helps out Divios. Now, I think that they were trying to wait to the very last moment, but Divios picked up that Anquile, so once it got to the very last moment, he did get that wave of silence out to give him an opportunity for the overhead kick. I think they could have used it sooner, as you said, but because they waited until the last minute, the Anquile, I think, really caused problems.
I think you're right. I didn't notice the item of the Anquile there, but it must have come into play. So now with that, I do like the Crusher that Scream picked up in this game as well, going for, obviously, his attack speed and an additional dot, which is very useful for him and his team. Because he's going to have to make sure he goes damage this game. He's going to make sure he's able to at least kill some of these tanks, at the same time as be a frontliner. So his build's going to be the most interesting to me about where he ends up going.
Scream does have some options. We've seen Transcendences even come in these builds on some of these ability-based gods, especially with the Crusher passive. Getting a ton of power, like from Transcendence, certainly can lend itself well to that. So where Scream goes is very interesting. But Divios getting that kill, that's a big deal to slow Scream down, to show Scream can fall, and that they can get a little bit overconfident. And we used to see Robin solo, not so much anymore, but clearly it still has some potency.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it could cause some problems. It just depends on matchup. Solo lane really is matchup dependent more than anything else. It's not about, you know, can you pressure the wave? Sure. You can pick Achilles every game if you want to win the laning phase, sure. But then how does it evolve into the mid-team fights where you know, the Chang'e's now going off because he's getting all the farm?
Scream is lurking around. Aurora's dropped a ward, so I think the game might be up. In fact, PandaCat gets the beat, forced Aror with a free hand pull. Scream going to come right back in just in case. But Splyce get their beads and back up, very patient. Wrath of Terror comes out, but they interrupted. Now Aror falls to the through space and time for Venenu.
The space and time did so much work there. Divios was on the rotation from the solo lane to try and support this. Mike will use the portal to escape, though. Splyce are on the rampage, angry about losing Aror there. eUnited played that really well. They just realized Aror was like, hang on, you're a Sylvanus in the early game. You're not going to have anything here. Why don't we just kill him? And they did.
It was very curious because they were playing it so patiently. They get the beads out from PandaCat, which is a great play, and then they kind of all in. They know Scream is there.
Well, what happened was PandaCat kind of telegraphed the gank from Virizial and from Scream, and because of that, hold on a second, Venu's in trouble.
Venenu does make it back through the portal, just barely avoids that Mystic Rush. Divios over here on this side of the map already and ready to try and cause some problems. Meanwhile, the rest of Splyce kind of posturing around the gold. They're at least going to get oracles.
Yeah, but going back to that fight on the left-hand side where we saw Aror fell, then that was just PandaCat playing up too far. But now Mike been caught out by Cyno, and the whole squad just walks around the corner and picks up a kill.
That's because everyone's still here. Splyce wants the Gold Fury. They are pulling it. It's only PandaCat around. Remember, he used the ultimate on that kill onto Aror, so he does not have that available. Divios backed, but he has teleport upgraded, so he'll be right back into the fray. Splyce grab Gold Fury through space and time a little bit too late. CycloneSpin going forward needs to be careful.
Doesn't have any support, so he's going to have to back away from taking those trades overall there. But a great call from Splyce, recognizing the situation. Pushed a couple of members back to base. Also, a lot of the ultimates consumed in the team fight prior on the pick of Aror. So when you look back, eUnited goes, hey, we picked Aror. Oh, we lose gold. Splyce make the right adjustment to the situation.
And they were able to get the return kill into the enemy support, so that's why the game looks this way on the charts. Very even. Splyce doing a good job after Screams really came rocketing out of the gates in this game one to sort of right the ship and keep this game even. Still, though, they got some experience problems to worry about with Benji, with Venenu. But look at this. CycloneSpin is out in front of PandaCat.
Yeah, by 2 levels at the moment. That's just because some of the pressure they've had in that lane and the Gold Fury too. Don't forget, it does give it a little bit of experience, so it does add up on top of that. The second relic's definitely important, but it's not that important with the Gold Fury being down. Cyno, though, being invaded.
Aggression. 3 members of eUnited are here in the jungle, but Cyno backs up wisely and is able to protect his jungle. They've got to head back towards mid. Divios still a little bit behind Benji. For all the talk we had about how this Robin would fare, looks like Benji has still turned into that eventual Chang'e lane bully.
Yeah, but he's worked out still well. Divios is holding his own in this lane. He's got 2 kills so far to the 1 death that we saw picked up earlier on. It's not the worst lane in the world. Divios is doing good work with Splyce to try and invade the blue and make sure Benji stays out of mana where possible.
He's going to be able to come back and grab this one for himself, but more importantly, they've slowed Scream down a little bit, right? In these last few minutes, he hasn't been able to do quite as much as he was doing earlier, where he was just setting up kills in the jungle and finding those. It's been a little bit of a slowdown on that Awilix in the jungle.
You called it, though. He is going for that Transcendence. We've seen it quite a few times before in the past. A lot of power on that, a lot of mana as well, which means you can spam those abilities a little bit more so. And to be fair, when you summon Suku and you run around on her, when you cancel her, don't jump off her, you can jump back on again, but it costs you mana every time.
Right.
So it means you stay more mobile by having a bigger mana pool there to allow you to get around the map.
It really does just work all around, and I like that jungler sort of making this recognition that it can fit into their build as well recently, and Scream making full use of it. On the other side, Cyno has gone with the Wing Blade, so he's as you kind of alluded to earlier, kind of trying to get that hybrid frontline presence and still do some good damage. You're trying to get away from the threshold from Venenu and PandaCat slow.
Yeah, he's also got kind of nice bit of cooldown in there, Cyno, so he should be fine in the jungle.
That's right.
The biggest talk about this game is going to be Benji versus Divios when we get to the team fight stage a little bit later on. Can Benji put out enough damage and sustain his team up enough to survive the onslaught of the tanks that are coming at them? Divios, someone that is going to be the diver for that team. He's the one that's going to be on the backline the whole time, probably having to deal more than likely with PandaCat more than anybody else, but he has got good chase potential onto the Janus too, as he can jump over those walls with his ultimate.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Divios in these late game fights. As you said, trying to track down Venenu, trying to make sure he's outputting enough to make up for the heal that Benji's going to have.
And the big key from Divios here is not to try and find a kill. If he can get a kill, great. His main job is take somebody out of the fight by forcing them away from the situation, using their abilities on him instead of the rest of their team, and try and, you know, sway the fight in favor of Splyce.
Well, he's picked a target, and it's PolarBearMike. Aror pulls him back in. CycloneSpin providing some much-needed damage. PBM does make it out, but the snipe is coming as well. They forced the Scarab Blessing, so PolarBearMike should be okay for now. That's a big team fighting ultimate down, and Splyce going to try and strip some jungle.
Yeah, 2 for 1 in terms of that, and 1 minute 20 on the Gold Fury respawn. And this is the right sort of time to try and burn some relics, because they still won't be available for the Gold Fury fight.
The boar has come out from PandaCat as well, so now it is 2 ults for 2 ults. No beads had to be used, but Sprint came out from Aror, but they're ready to fight. Blink goes in. Now bead force from PandaCat. Without ult and without beads, a much nicer target now.
Bit of a miscommunication there from Best and Sanders. They both used abilities, but here comes the space and time. Pull on Aror is good. He's going to ult in response to try and peel himself away, but Cyno's here and so is Benji.
He has to push through. Scream takes a ton of damage from the final judgment, but Benji comes through, drops the Waxing Moon, but Divios comes in on the backside. He's ready to fight. Venenu gets rooted. He's forced to use beads. PolarBearMike gets pulled back in, but Venenu can't find the portal. Divios on a killing spree takes down the mid lane mage. Cyno still surging forward.
Well, his Earthbreaker was coming up soon. Great stun coming out from the Best to set up that Earthbreaker into the driving strike, and Cyclone gets a kill. 2 kills to Splyce. Gold Fury up in 20 seconds. Full minion wave on its way down here. They could stay for the tier 1 too. Splyce have a couple of options here.
That just was such a great play from them. Venenu not quite being able to get through that portal was very important from them. Divios is, I don't know if I want to call it late rotation, but he definitely was the last one to the fight, and he was able to come in and have a big impact as well. They forced out so many relics early, then capitalized on that team fight.
Definitely some situations in that engagement where I'm looking back, where Benji uses his ultimate onto CycloneSpin with the Waxing Moon. There was no call if his beads were still up. Has his beads been burnt? There was a few other targets there that would probably be a bit more susceptible to that gank attempt than the Rama, but I guess the call didn't go through, so the Waxing Moon really didn't do as much as they would have liked to in that engagement. Same can be said for when Divios came over. When he came over, he just started hitting on Scream. PandaCat already used his beads at that moment in time. That was a prime opportunity to try and kill the Artemis. Doesn't matter though, Splyce still came out on top.
But that is one of the problems we highlighted already, right? eUnited doesn't have that easily to apply crowd control. I mean, the knockup from Scream is somewhat conditional. I mean, Venenu Portal's not that great. PolarBearMike has the one-ranged root and the abduct. So it's not a ton. They got to make sure they're forcing the beads out in a way where they can still follow up.
And that's the big key here, is that the eUnited want Splyce to be aggressive. They want to counter-initiate every single fight. If eUnited do take a lead in this game because of the counter-initiations going so well, I don't know how they can turn that into a win with sieging with this composition, because they've only really got a Khepri to like frontline for them.
It's not the best situation. They're definitely going to need to be ahead as Divios wraps in on the backside, but he takes way more damage than he deals out. He's been rooted. He's been knocked up. He's been pulled back in. Mystic Rush gets him out. Cyno now in between everyone and dropping the boulder. The snipes come out from CycloneSpin, but not the best. Splyce have taken a ton of damage. They got to fall back, and Venenu forces the Aegis from Cyclone.
He whiffed it, though, but it didn't matter either way. Scream will get the ultimate to stay alive and respawn. Cyclone's one hit from death, and Benji gets that. Aror's going to tick down as Benji gets a double now. I said Chang'e versus Divios was going to be the biggest thing, and Chang'e's coming up big.
The dual lane for Splyce has already been taken out of this fight. Cyno gets caught by the portal. Unstable Vortex brings him low. Divios not done yet. He's looking for PandaCat. Misses the root and the Prana Onslaught. Now there's too much damage coming his way. Divios can't stick around.
Oh, the root connected from Mike, and that's good enough for the cleanup too for another kill for eUnited. And the main thing about that fight is we were talking about the front line for eUnited being slightly weaker. Well, they went on Benji there, did Splyce, and Benji, his build is about survivability, cooldown reduction. The Rod of Tahuti picked, sorry, Warlock Staff, I don't know why I said Rod of Tahuti, but the Warlock's Staff being picked up here as well for the extra health. He's trying to be able to take this damage, absorb it, and then allow his team to counter-initiate. That's what eUnited did. They counter-initiated, they win the fight.
Yeah, as long as the United don't have to be the ones we're saying that they don't have a ton of control. It doesn't matter as much in a fight like that they don't have a ton of control. Plus, they also get off all of it. I talked about how Screams can be somewhat conditional. Well, he absolutely nailed it onto Divios and pulls him back in. The through space and time for Venenu was great to give them several portals to move through and keep up the chase. eUnited played that fight very, very cleanly. Now, they're the ones out in front with the Gold Fury and a couple kills, about a 2,000, really 2,500 gold lead.
But the game's not over, and Splyce can now look back at the last engagement of the Gold Fury and go, okay, what went wrong? What went right? What targets are we supposed to be prioritizing in this game? We need to realize that they are a counter-initiation squad. Do we want to initiate on them, or, you know, should we make them initiate on us? If we make them initiate on us, their comp does not do very well into that, in my opinion, where you could potentially pick off a target or two. There's a bit of mind games in this game for sure between them, and it's an important game. Like we said, it's a best of 3, and loser probably won't be making LAN at this rate.
There are some mind games, but there's also some cold reality, like the fact that Benji's out in front of Divios in a pretty meaningful way, about a 3-level lead, and that's very relevant at this point, level 20 now for Benji, and it's hard to bring him down. Kind of spent a lot of time on this duo side and couldn't find many kills. Benji was kind of able to come out on top.
I definitely prefer a Chang'e in the late game over than a Ravana, but I guess in certain circles it will, you know, be comp dependent, but overall, if I had to pick one or the other to get to late game full build, I'll take a Chang'e, please.
And we're seeing why. Benji had a great team fight. He hit the Waxing Moon, I believe, on a Cyclone and Aurora, and was kind of just autoing them at a certain point. He had them locked down long enough to where he could finish them off eventually and was able to get a couple kills.
Now, Splyce have done some adjustments now. There is some anti-heal slowly coming in, which we've not really seen before, which takes a while to get online. So Divine Moon for Best is going to be able to reduce some of this down, as well as Aror has gone for the Lotus Crown himself to answer back the Lotus Crown Benji's got. So they kind of cancel each other out, those Lotus Crowns, to an extent. If anything, it's actually better on Aror than it is Chang'e.
A little bit easier to apply on those wisps.
Lasts longer, that's why.
That's right, yeah. And it's going to continue ticking for you, so you get that Lotus Crown proc. That's going to be the idea here from Aror on this Sylvanus. We've kind of fallen back just a little while, waiting to maybe see if they want to try and go over on this Fire Giant. Gold Fury's been the point of contestation so far, but as we move into 22 minutes, it could be Pyro.
Thought it was going to be a little bait play from Divios and Cyno there, just luring Benji into the pit and then try and trap him in there, but instead, it was all about just securing their own buff and playing safe for the time. And they're kind of scared of this Chang'e. They realize they don't have the damage to burst him down on their own.
Boulder's going to come over and very, very close, but it goes the way of eUnited. Cyno was almost there with that strip away, but Pyromancer was the call. This time, they didn't even have to have a team fight over it. They kind of just force Splyce away and take it.
And now the Oracle's going to go down in favor of Splyce too. Still a relatively even game. That 3k gold, if you split that 5 ways, it's not a whole chunk of change, to be fair. Maybe you'll invest in a couple of wards at half an item at best.
Yeah, the real problem, I feel like, was between Benji and Divios, but because Benji's level 20, the gap's only getting smaller. Divios now starting to close that out experience-wise. In fact, Cyclone's still a little bit ahead of PandaCat in terms of experience, too, so it is very much an even game. The difference, though, is whether or not Splyce are going to kind of play into eUnited's hands, as they did on that last Gold Fury. It really comes down more to execution now than the laning phase or who got to what first.
And I feel when the Gold Fury spawns, Finch, we'll see a bit of a change-up then where things will turn attention towards it once more. Because for the next minute or two, it's really just going to be farming up, playing safe. There's no one going to be getting too aggressive unless someone really gets out of position.
And take a look down here. They really haven't gotten a ton of damage out of Venenu in these fights, but it doesn't feel like they've been missing anything from him at this point,
it's
right?
It's a Janus, man.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's been using it through space and time to set up paths throughout the wall. We say it sometimes, it kind of sounds like a meme. The damage on through space and time is nice, but it's really not even the most you're looking for from it.
Janus is one of these gods that goes through a transitional phase throughout a game, very similar in a weird way to Thanatos, right? Thanatos in the game, he's a murderer. Wait a second, Benji? Be okay.
He's got Beads and Aegis on a 20-second cooldown. He's fine.
Good point.
It's actually much less than that because he's got cooldown now.
Should have realized that. But yeah, Thanatos, in the early game, all about killing. Late game, all about setup. Well, early game, Janus, all about setup. Supporting, providing pulls, slowing enemies down, getting escape routes, mobility. Mid-game to late game is where... Mid-game, he does both. A little bit of damage.
Right.
And that's support. Late game, he bursts to high heaven. Don't be surprised to see Venenu, if this game goes late, shoot up in the standings in terms of player damage.
Gold Fury is about to spawn here in just a second. And it's actually Splyce who are around it first. If they recognize just how little United members are around,
I like it.
Then they can start pulling it. But they haven't all in committed. Now it's time for PandaCat to make it over here. Through Space and Time has been committed. That's a big ultimate down from Venenu. But Splyce have 100% given it up. And now eUnited are grabbing it.
So now we're going to see Splyce have to initiate on this because they dropped it originally. Keep an eye on what Divios goes on, because that's where his prime target should be. If he takes out PandaCat or goes on PandaCat, that keeps a lot of the damage off the Gold Fury for the sustained DPS to bring it down.
Yeah, I think Chang'e can no longer be the target. We saw that in the last fight. They went in on Chang'e. She ate all the damage just fine, and they turned it around. Divios got to pick a better one, and PandaCat is indeed going to be it. Cyno comes in, and then Divios takes the baton. They do drop down the Scare's Blessed, and they have to halt DPS. Scream with a great knock-up, controls Divios, but Mystic Rush to get him over the top, puts PandaCat into the ground.
That was a lot. That was down to Aror too for setting up and making sure that PandaCat was rooted in place to allow Divios to follow up. That's the target selection Splyce need now. The patience that eUnited showed there, the ultimate coming out from PolarBearMike was beautiful, but Splyce were patient enough to wait it out.
Divios going to be the frontliner now. Oh, he's actually very low on the back end. Got to get away from Venenu. Cyno on the Hercules comes over to try and zone them off, but Benji still right here. Doesn't have Waxing Moon available. Splyce should still have the better confirm if they want to all in.
Yeah, keep it on the relics that Splyce have available now. Best and CycloneSpin still have their relics available. I wouldn't mind just seeing Cyclone tank this up for the time being. Baiting eUnited again. We said they're not good on counterattack. They're good on counterattacks, not initiations, and they need to initiate.
Try and force them to make their way in, but Splyce, it looks like, don't trust that they can out-secure this. They're really trying to get eUnited to all-in commit on this, but PandaCat is going to be back up in a few seconds. They can't wait too long as Cyclone has Gold Fury down below half HP. Divios going in on Benji. Cyno gets plucked back in. Splyce grabbed Gold Fury, but now Cyno is low. Has a driving strike away, and Benji takes him down with a Waxing Moon.
Still fine. As long as Splyce all leave now and get away, it's okay. Gold Fury for the life of your jungler. Not doom and gloom whatsoever. If they lose another member, though, it could cause them some more problems.
Root lands onto Benji. I think that might have just created enough space. Now they can fall back to the tier 1. But eUnited, one of the best teams at not giving up something for free. They're going to try and find something on the back end. Pyromancer's not up, but they could be looking for Fire Giant.
A little bit on the risky side, this one, Finch. This is one of those do-or-die calls. I mean, CycloneSpin has his ultimate. The best doesn't know, but Divios is here, and he's got Mystic Rush again.
They do take a little bit of free poke from the FG, but they have a Chang'e. They can heal that up. This is now good from Splyce. They did lose Cyno, yes, but they got PandaCat earlier on. They grabbed the Gold Fury, and eUnited couldn't really capitalize off the back end. eUnited still have a bit of a lead, but now they're going right back in.
Well, the good news is Divios and Aror didn't leave too far, but this is going to go down relatively quick with the composition eUnited have. They've got a lot of damage here.
The Fire Giant's being bursted. Mystic Rush comes out. eUnited secure the FG. Divios now in a whole heap of trouble. Benji takes him out first through space and time, creates a path to Aror. Wrath of Terra cannot save the tree. PandaCat takes Aror down as well. 2 for 0, and they're looking for the tier 2 on right.
Yeah, notice that both Divios and Aror neither had any wards in their inventory. Splyce were completely out of wards, so they were blind around that Fire Giant area. Aror and Divios hang around, granted, sure, but when you think about the secure, it's only really the Mystic Rush, and it's not the easiest ability in the world to time to perfection on a Fire Giant that's losing health rapidly.
Especially when eUnited had those wards around the top end, they almost certainly knew it was just Divios Cyno there and trusted their secure. Phoenix now being taken down. This is so much eUnited got off the back of that Gold Fury play. Just when we said Splyce able to get it without losing anything, eUnited, of course, come back in and take a 6,000 gold lead.
And as we said, the big key there was, they lost Cyno for a Gold Fury. On paper, that's great. That's fine. You can lose a member, get a Gold Fury, cool. But then they immediately go to Fire Giant. Multiple members of Splyce want a base at the same time. There wasn't enough presence there. If they would have staggered backs a little bit more so, it may have dissuaded them a little bit more, especially if maybe Best hung around a little bit longer, or Cyclone. They had an extra threat of securing the Fire Giant.
And it was a different fight, and I'm going to preface it with that was the 5v2, so eUnited felt very comfortable. But Splyce had the out-secure. Splyce should have been able to get that Gold Fury in the 5v4, but they were so patient. They waited so long with it that eUnited kind of took enough from them that they did all have to back, and they could kind of force that Fire Giant on the back end.
Yeah, sustain comes into play, causes some problems, and now eUnited technically, not technically, are in the driving seat with a Phoenix down the right-hand side. There's only 2 more left to exploit. I'd like to see go mid first, then to the left-hand side. Just because mid-tower, when you get to the left-hand side, you can choose Phoenix or Gold Fury, depending on the situation. By the time you've done the tier 1 tower, tier 2 tower mid, then got the one on the left and take that, the Gold Fury would have spawned.
And they've got Benji pushing up the wave and left, it looks like, too, so they should have basically whatever option they want to choose from. As they come check the jungle, they'll find there's not really much there, but it looks like they're going to grab Oracles and come to the tower all the way in left, try and pull them the furthest away from the fire wave and right, I suppose. Yeah,
this is one of those games where you look at it and you're like, okay, you're not going to get the tier 2 tower and left, because Splyce actually were in a decent enough spot to defend the tier 2 tower in the mid lane, and looked like they may have done so. Will they go to continue on? They've still got a minute and a half on the Gold Fury spawning. That's why I would have liked to have seen them go mid first. It'd make more sense to me.
Well, this is going to be the call. They are staying grouped up on the left-hand side. All ultimates available, all relics. Cursed Ankh, actually, in the selection for PolarBearMike, if they want to try and go in and catch anyone getting those wisps from Aror.
Well, PolarBearMike's going to be the one to tank up, and this is where eUnited can struggle on offense, because the tanking options are really limited to the Chang'e or, of course, the Hugbug. But the Hugbug, he wants to hug in the back line, not necessarily the front line, where possible.
They got some good damage from Venenu onto Splyce over the wall. That Soul Reaver proc was consumed. They might want to wait till that one's back up again before they move. They got another 55 seconds, but no, they're moving in now. They initially try and drop the root onto TheBest, but he dashes away. Splyce are being very patient with this push, but now Scream jumps in. He blinks in on the backside. Best is the target, and he's been deleted very, very early.
Yeah, the tanks from eUnited just did no sort of peel there whatsoever to help him out. Burst it down before anything happened. Wasn't even a bead used, but noticed that PolarBearMike at the same time used that relic that is so important for turning the fights around against healers.
Able to go in with that Cursed Ankh. CycloneSpin now forced back into the Titan room with
That's
Fire
game.
Minions pouring in from the right, and 5 members of eUnited here on the left. 31 minutes into the game, eUnited able to take it despite how close Splyce made it look early.
Yeah, that last little play at the end there, that Cursed Ankh that came out from Mike is the reason that TheBest disappeared so quickly. The Wisps came out from Aror, he gets healed, he gets 20% damage amplifier, they dive in, kill him, and then most of the damage is gone because it's just tanks left over.
And once it's applied on you, there's nothing you can do about it. They can come in and drop the Cursed Ankh and kind of punish you for it. But a great play from Scream. He jumps in, then I think he blinked behind him and got the knockup. He really was harassing Best. That was their focus the whole time, and it was so quick, there was no chance really for any PL.
Yeah, that was all communication levels of, okay, here's how we're going to do this fight. I'm going to wait for the Wisps from Aror. As soon as that happens, boom, we go. Exactly, execute to perfection.
And in that game, the difference really felt like, to me, the confidence in the calls was kind of the difference. eUnited, the Fire Giant, they went for it. On the left, Phoenix, they went for it. They went for the game and afterwards, too. But Splyce kind of seemed like maybe they weren't quite sure when their opportunities were.
I think the biggest issue from Splyce's point of view, they'll look back and after that Gold Fury that they secured for themselves, is the stagger of the backs. They sent all the damage dealers away. They left two that they felt comfortable with in Divios and Aror to defend. But the amount of damage you've got when you've not got a solo lane warrior, you've got a mage with ridiculous scaling, it's going to cause problems.
Well, who was your MVP there from game one? I would not fault you at all for voting Scream. Had a great game on that Awilix. Got the game off to a good start and ended the game too.
Scream or Benji, they were the two that really stood out for me. Mike had some good individual plays too, but they go Scream or Benji.
Yeah, no one, I mean, they don't care if the support had a good game. No one does, right? For some reason. I don't know. Obviously, PolarBear might look great, but they don't always want to vote for him. But we'll go ahead and let them break down a little bit more about what happened there in that set on the desk.
Thanks a lot, friends. Tom and Ryan here one more time. And watching this one was kind of just exactly what I expected, in all honesty. Awilix is a character that will run the pace of the game if given the opportunity.
Yes.
And Scream is a player that will run the pace of the game if given the opportunity. Say yes.
Yes.
And so watching these two together was just a treat.
It was, but Splyce had a really good battle there. I mean, this team put themselves in a real position to win this game. It's just that confidence that eUnited has, and the fact that Benji, his scoreline, 5-0, tells the whole story. I mean, he was unkillable in this game, and when you don't have that much consistent burst damage, I mean, Driving Strike is good burst damage, sure, but it's melee range, and Cyno is not going to be able to close that gap particularly easily. How is Divios going to make sure that Benji dies in lane as a Robin? I mean, it's difficult to do so. Benji getting in and out of those fights, that 11k healing was the difference in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a big deal. The battle mage is very important. I mean, look at the damage he was able to do as well. Competitive damage on top of competitive healing. That's a really big deal. And so our solo laner does wind up with the MVP, Benji, taking it home on the Chang'e. And this is very scary for Chang'e, or for players against Chang'e, is that she does kind of it all. She's a jack of all trades, master of all of them if she gets ahead. And that's what you're able to do if you're a player like Benji.
It's that little extended fight around Gold Fury where then eUnited goes straight for Fire Giant after that. If they don't have a Chang'e to heal them up in that sort of scenario, are they healthy enough to go for Fire Giant in that spot? It's the little things like that eUnited play around so well. They utilize that sustain, and they utilize Benji as a target that the opposition wants to focus out. How many times did we see PBM, throw that Rising Dawn onto the Chang'e, and he barely takes any damage from anything that's coming his way? That's what Khepri does in a protect composition like this, and it was really difficult, I think, for a Khepri to do it with this sort of composition, because you've got an Artemis that you need to protect, a Chang'e that you need to protect, and a Awilix that's going to go very, very far and be difficult to protect. There was a good revive by Gold Fury that PVM had to save Scream. All of those are important, and it ends up paying off for eUnited.
Luxury you have when you have a great support. PolarBearMike, player coach, in my opinion, doing a great job here for eUnited, winning game number 1. Game number